Hi guys, welcome back to today's video. For today we're going to be exploring diversity, embracing diversity, and why cultural awareness is so important. We all need cultural awareness because it is really important. It is of paramount need in these days and the current world we're living in. And what would you say diversity is, or what is cultural awareness? Cultural awareness would be you being mindful and respectful towards other people's cultures, beliefs, values, their way of lives, the way they think, and the way they behave. Being respectful towards it, its significance, and how it can all bring us closer. So, in case you're wondering what diversity is or cultural awareness, and why I'm talking about it is, I am of the belief that we as a society really need cultural awareness, because cultural awareness in plain terms is you being respectful, you being mindful of another person's belief and their way of life practically, which is really missing in our world today. You know, you see certain things online, like certain posts where people post themselves maybe dancing in a way, eating in a way, speaking in a way, like their accent for example, or behaving in a certain way, and then all you see under the comments of such posts would be, why is he behaving like this? Why is she thinking like that? Why is, without even giving them a chance to see where they are coming from, especially for something like the accent. I want we all to understand that accent wasn't stored in a place, and then when you come of age they're like, okay, you go pick your accent, or you go pick this. It doesn't work that way. It is something that is inborn in them. It is follow come. It's just like we all grew up to know what we talk like, to hear what we sound like, to see how we behave, because these are things that have been instilled in us from birth. It didn't start yesterday. It didn't start when you became a teenager. It started right from when you were giving birth and started bringing you up like a human being will be brought up. You know, it all contributes, stems right from our childhood. So no one goes to any particular place, for example accent, to pick an accent, and then you hear people making fun of them or accent and wondering why they speak in that way. If you even check it, most of these people don't really know why they speak that way. They grew up finding themselves or knowing themselves to have such accent, and this is the accent from where they come from. And I feel like if we have cultural awareness, we would be able to have more empathy, more understanding, more respect, and it will bring us more closer. You know, like things like eating with hands, still today in 2024 as I'm speaking to you, there are still a lot of people that see it as a taboo or something that is very weird and shouldn't be done. And it's so funny because I myself am from the culture where we do use our hands to eat certain food, and I just want to make it clear in case you were wondering, or in case you didn't know, because I feel like people who aren't culturally aware are people that don't want to put in time to know more. They are so comfortable in their ignorance that they are not willing to know what is right and understand things the way they are. Eating with hands, it doesn't mean that culture or such people don't know what a cutlery is, or they are not literate enough to understand how to do something as little as eating in the appropriate way according to you, you know. And it's so mind-blowing that these people are aware of cutlery. This culture still use cutlery just like you do, exactly like you do. They still use cutlery, they appreciate cutlery, they know the use of cutlery, but there are certain meals that are mostly enjoyed with bare hands and not cutlery. And just because you don't understand it doesn't make it something that is a weird or a behavior that isn't nice. It doesn't work that way. Just because you don't know it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because think about it, we have 7 continents in the world, and for most of us, for the most part of our life, we're mostly in just one continent or 2 continents, because especially travels these days, I wouldn't say you going to a place for 3 or 4 days would cement you knowing their way of life or actually understanding their culture. Yes, you get to experience some things and you get knowledge for some of the practices in the culture, but you can't really say certain people's culture if you just went there to stay 3 days. So for most of us, all our lives we've been in one continent, if at all, or if at most two continents. So how are you so sure that what you know or what you've grown up to know is the truth, or that is the only way of life, when there are 5 other continents, like times two and more of yours, are still waiting to be unexplored? You are so ignorant about everything happening there, and you believe deep down in your mind that what you know is the truth and what you know is the only acceptable way of life. It doesn't work that way. You can't come to a conclusion just based off of what you know. So I feel like cultural awareness is really, really important, and it will help us, or it will stop us as a society from asking dumb questions. There are so many times, especially things like, okay, something that sets me up is when people are like, oh, in Africa, or I went to Africa, and it's like, okay, for us from Africa, it's like, which part of Africa exactly? Because Africa is such a wide place. When you say Africa, there are so many countries in Africa. So which part of Africa are you specifying? You saying Africa is like me saying North America. Oh, I went to North America, and I did what part of North America or South America? Or me saying the last time I went to Asia. There are so many other countries in Asia. Instead of saying the last time I was in Asia, except in rare occasions where you can reference it like that, it takes nothing to say the last time I was in Thailand, for example. Instead of saying from Africa, it really takes nothing from us to want to know better, to learn. I feel like we need to cultivate that open-mindedness and curiosity, because if we're open-minded, then we would be able to want to understand other cultures, their beliefs, their values. Also, things like we visiting other countries would also be a thing of respect, in the sense that there are some countries that do have rules and regulations for dress code, for example. If you have cultural awareness, or if you're culturally aware, you would want to find out how things are being done in the country you're going to before you go, because I feel like it's so ignorant for you to go to a place you're not familiar with without even having an idea of what the place is like, and then when you go there and you see maybe the way they behave or their way of life is not permitting you to fully express yourself in such aspects, I find it so weird and ignorant for you to complain and just make certain negative remarks about the place when it's been clearly stated that such is not acceptable in a country. It's so ignorant of you to go there and you're taking offense as to their rules and regulations. With cultural awareness, you would be able to have an empathic side to you, trying to understand why and respecting that. Not even understanding, because you really don't have to understand everything for you to adhere to someone's rules. The example I always give people is, imagine someone comes to your house. You would expect that the person will adhere to the rules in your house, how you do things in your house, not how they do things in their house, how you do things in your household. That's just like any other country. It's like you going to their home and refusing to act according to how they behave in their house. You see that it doesn't make any sense at all. So I feel like before you move around, especially now that traveling is very rampant, I feel like it takes nothing. You really should take out a little of your time, to check out where you're going to and what is acceptable there, what is not. It's really of paramount essence that we fight ignorance with everything in us. Ignorance is the worst thing that could happen to anyone. Ignorance is your enemy, and if we're able to tackle this cultural ignorance or ignorance in the aspect of culture, it will take us a step further as people's society, Learning about different cultures can be of great benefit to you personally. It can broaden the way you already see things or see life. It can change your assumptions about so many things and life, way of life. I always used to watch Trevor Noah, and he's someone that always says he would encourage anyone to travel around just to learn and see how other people are living, what their values are, their way of life, everything. And I feel like that should be directed to all of us, that you shouldn't stop at learning your own culture for us to be able to understand each other, for me to be able to see someone and hear something different or see them act in a different way. My first thing shouldn't be to castigate them or to judge them. Is to understand why they are doing what they are doing, because sometimes you hear certain accents and then you're like, oh, why is this person sounding like this? And then you hear where they are from, you're like, oh, it makes sense. Why? Because you know that people from this particular side sound like this, so it's no surprise to you. So that's what I'm talking about. And one thing I feel like we miss is the same way you're so surprised that maybe someone like I can eat with my hands, is the same amount of shock I have learning that you're not aware that you can use your hands to eat, if that makes sense. So the shock is coming from both sides. That is why it is paramount that we all pay attention or learn about each other's differences, cultures. And most times when you try to learn about other people's cultures, you realize that many of our cultures have a lot of similarities, not just differences. There are so many similarities. For example, I've been following this YouTuber for so many years now, Saz ASMR, and she alone has single-handedly taught me so many things about the Thai culture and the Asian culture to an extent, but Thai culture especially. And for that aspect, there are so many things currently that not just in Thai, in Asia, that if I was to encounter, I know how to go about it. I know how to express myself, to be able to relate with the people. Why? Because I've been able to have an open mind when it comes to this culture, learning this culture, embracing it, that she has made me fall in love so much with Thai culture and Asian culture that it's on my bucket list that I need to explore Asia. For years now, it's been on my bucket list to explore Asia, especially their cuisines. There are different types of food. Like if I like Thailand, for example, I'm looking forward to mango and sticky rice, lok chop, hot pots, papaya salad, so many things, that I've been exposed to, that I am looking forward to. I am just so intrigued, about how they behave. And we have lots of similarities in the sense that Thai culture and where I'm from, we both use our hands to eat, though the foods or the meals we use our hands for, they are very different. That is also another reason why it is important to want to learn, because for the Thai culture and the Nigerian culture, for example, we both use our hands, but we both use our hands for separate meals that are not even identical in any way, but we both use our hands. So we've got a similarity there. And she also happens to show, like, the country lifestyle, and that's something that I also appreciate so much. There's this festival, Songkran, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's Thai's New Year festival, and it happens mostly during April of every year, where they do water fights, and that water fight is just so fun. You see people passing, or all of them in their community, their area, just throwing and splashing huge amounts of water on each other. Those passing by the car, they have open hillocks, for example, and you see lots of buckets and containers of water where everyone passing is just throwing water basically on each other. And when you watch it, it's just so much fun. I'm going to leave a few pictures for you guys to see what I'm talking about. So in essence, SAS ASMR has made me so literate when it comes to the Thai culture. There's so much I know about the Thai culture that if I am talking to someone that is also familiar with the Thai culture or is also from Thai, there are certain things I would say or certain informations I know that that person would be tempted to think perhaps I have visited Thailand before or something like that. So yeah, things like that is so beneficial to us. For me, for example, like it's really, really on my bucket list to visit Thai and Asia, and there are just so many things I would love to experience firsthand. Another example for me would be the South Korean culture or the South Korean Japanese culture. Yeah, I wouldn't classify Asia as a whole, but particularly Japan and South Korea. These two countries are very, very organized, clean. Their culture promotes decency, it promotes mannerism, it brings out well-behaved people, and especially for someone like me where I come from, it is really, really a crazy thing to me to see that in a place like Japan, people adhere to almost every rule. Of course, every country has crime rates, there's good and bad in everything, but majority is like the good parts, you know, everywhere is clean. There are certain things that most cultures or most countries don't think about. They do it to keep the place safe. Their modesty, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they carry themselves, even the way they laugh, down to the way they laugh. Like, it is really, really intriguing that there is a nation like that, and it is possible that humans can behave in that way. You know, it's really enlightening, and like I said, you're able to chase ignorance in that aspect. You're not left with ignorant statements or ignorant behaviors. You know what to do, how to respond, and how you just have empathy and understanding. That's just the major important things that we all need to have, or we all need to aspire to have. One great way to embrace cultural diversity would be for you guys to read books, watch documentaries, access online sources, and currently there's so much, like so many options to pick from online. We have informations, so you could do that to gain that cultural awareness, because guys, if you're able to cultivate having an open mindset, willing to learn, willing to be teachable, then life would be different and better for you. You know, would be able to communicate with each other in a more respectful and understanding manner, and just being culturally aware exposes you to things that you never knew existed. Just like I said earlier on in the video, if you've been to just one continent or two continents in the world, you have so many things for you to explore, so many things that you're not aware of, so many informations that you're not aware of, ways of life that you never knew existed, that you couldn't even comprehend existed. There are so many things that is existing, and we all really need to show more empathy, to be understanding, to be respectful, and just to be open, to want to learn. You know, it is really important. Don't just go about dropping silly comments from a place of ignorance. Ignorance is your worst enemy. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If you can get rid of anything, it should be ignorance, or if at all, you need to start with ignorance, you know. Because knowing this information saves you from sounding ignorant or doing things from a place of ignorance. I just thought we need to bring a little more awareness on this diversity and cultural awareness, because it is really important. We have so many people that are so disrespectful when it comes to certain things like this, especially now that everything is online for everyone to see, and most times you don't tend to get the backstory of why things are done the way they are done. Only people from a place like that, or people that know things about certain cultures, that would kind of understand maybe a particular video or why someone is behaving or sounding the way they are sounding. And you also need to understand that in as much as there's good and bad of everything, we're focusing on the good parts today, and you should understand that everything we do in our cultures, not speaking about the bad side, it doesn't harm anyone, it's not harmful to you, it's not harmful to the person practicing it. So there really shouldn't be any problem. I just find it hard that in 2024 we're still encouraging people to be culturally aware when it's something that should be a way of life, because you can never know it all. You've just been in one particular place, or you know something all your life. Guys, there was this time I was watching a video, and the people in the video could not just comprehend why a brother and sister were hugging so close, going to the cinema and the rest, and they were just making weird comments about it. And to me, I'm like, do you even understand what you're saying? That it's not applicable where you're coming from, or it is not done where you're coming from, doesn't make it weird or doesn't make it a taboo, because exactly what you're talking about, if it's spoken about in my culture, no one would even think twice about it, because it's normal, in the sense that the topic was the relationship between a brother and sister. And where I come from, in a place like Nigeria, elder brothers tend to be a whole lot protective about their younger sisters, younger siblings, especially when that sibling is a girl child. They tend to be very, very protective. And for families where they are closely knitted, there's so much love and that closeness, that bond, you tend to see siblings of the opposite gender, especially when it has to do with an elder brother and a younger sister. They have a close bond, which is very, very normal. There's nothing where to eat. No one looks at it and be like, why are they holding hands going to the cinema? Everyone understands that that is almost like, I would say, like his baby. He's so protective over that thing. And yeah, it's just normal for them to have such a relationship without it even being weird. But in the video, they just couldn't understand why such a behavior is okay. And imagine my surprise. That's what I told you guys, that their surprise is why they're behaving that way, and my surprise too is why they are reacting to why they are behaving. Because where I come from, it is really, really nothing. It is even more admired, because that in such a place, that it stems from pure love. It's just the closeness of their bond and everything. So yeah, before you talk sometimes, or before jumping into conclusion, you should understand that your way of life is not the standard way things are done. The way you think, the way you behave, what your accent, how you eat, what you eat is not the standard. No one has a standard. We all have differences, and as much as we have differences, there's a lot of similarities between our cultures. So yeah, let's all be respectful, be mindful, be inclusive, and just be more open towards each other. Be empathetic, be understanding, and it will help us. In as much as everyone is traveling right now, it's even a perfect way for you to be culturally aware, or for you to gain cultural awareness. As you're traveling, try to understand the way of life, have conversations with people, and watch your life get better from them, because you tend to learn so much. And they say in life, update or information is power. So yeah, I just thought to shed some light on diversity, embracing diversity, and why cultural awareness is important. And I would love to hear from you guys. What are some cultures you find interesting, some cultures that are like on your bucket list festival, some cultures you're drawn to? Me personally, I am really, really drawn to the Asian culture. I don't know why. I've just learned so much from the Asian culture that I fell in love with it. I didn't choose it that this is a culture I like or I would love. It's just that I happened to learn so much about it that I fell in love with it. I would love to hear from you guys. Share your experiences with different cultures in the comment section. What are your favorite cultural events, books, movies, and perhaps one-on-one encounter with people that are from a different place from you, things you learned about different culture that seemed mind-blowing to you, things you never knew existed until you came about a particular culture. Yeah, all of that. I would love to hear that in the comment section. In conclusion, guys, cultural awareness and diversity enriches our way of life in different ways. We understanding our differences and our similarities creates a more empathetic and understanding world, and of course it chases away ignorance. But before we go, guys, let's get to our quote for this week. What's our quote for this week? Our quote for this week, guys, I just want to encourage you guys. I'm going to be reading something I found online for you guys. I'm going to be sharing it with you guys, and it is trust your journey. I just want to use this to encourage anyone listening to me right now. Don't be so hard on yourself for feeling lost, confused, or like you haven't achieved all you wanted to achieve. Life would be boring if you've done it all already. If you had no more room to grow or things to learn, be patient. You will eventually figure it all out, and everything will make perfect sense. Every experience will get you to where you were supposed to be. Every loss, every heartbreak, every mistake. Don't be afraid to mess up, and don't expect success overnight. Get lost, get so damn lost, and find yourself over and over again. Believe in yourself. Forget about what other people think and trust your journey. And then the next quote would be, knowledge isn't power until it is applied. And yeah, I'm just going to be leaving you guys with these few words of encouragement. Thank you once more for joining me on today's video, and as usual, don't forget to go through my channel. There are so many videos for you to binge watch and enjoy, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.